Hey guys, how are you? This is Capricorn King here. Yes, I've recently changed my YouTube channel name as it just sounds more authentic to me. Infinite Awareness it was prior, but hey, it is what it is. Why have I changed it? Because I can. Because I operate through my own autonomy. Unlike the majority of the masses, but this is why I'm here. So do you want to make your life more conducive into the direction that you want to steer it? You do? Okay, you found the right channel. So yeah, this video is about society, the societal construct, the artificial edifice that has been orally instilled in us, has become a reflected projection of our conditioning, but not our origin, not our original way, our intrinsic way, the intrinsic way through the heart. So yeah, today's video is about that. It is about why we can feel out of place in society. Do you feel out of place in society? I thought so. Sometimes I do. It's got better though. It has got better. The first reason why I think that most of you guys maybe feel out of place in society is because it's not reflecting your true state of being. You look around and nobody's smiling at each other, nobody's reciprocating any resonant frequency of love. It's completely subdued collectively, and it's not your fault. It is not your fault that it is the way it is. It's not their fault either, because if you think you're suffering, they are too. They are too, and we're all just exchanging more of a low, mundane vibratory resonance amongst us. So that's why there is no smiling, there is no eye contact, because people don't want to see the depth of the soul, and it is through the eye, because it's the figure eight. We're living in a polarized magnetic plane which reciprocates itself within itself. So you look through the eyes, it reflects directly what you are within yourself, and that's why we have been, it's kind of been instilled in us that to feel uncomfortable when making eye contact, when we shouldn't. It should be a natural thing to be able to make eye contact, because in the eyes of others lies the you that you perceive yourself to be, and because without them, how would you know you? Without anybody else, how would you know the you of what you are? How would you know that? How would you? You wouldn't. You would just be this projection. You would just know yourself of this. If there was nobody else, you would just look at your surroundings and your environment, and you would just know yourself of that, and you would just simply be. But we have, again, like I've said in previous videos, been interspersed into what seems like individual beings having a distinctive experience in contrast to what we are. No, that is not the thing. And this is why one of the reasons we feel uncomfortable in society, because we think this. We think that, again, to think is a thing. I remember a philosopher called Alan Watts saying this: to think is a thing, and things are distinguishable. So a thing is arranging what you perceive in your environment as a stratified kind of illusion. Like everything's compartmentalized into strata, which is like each it's like each part is not integral with the whole, almost like it's got its own autonomy within itself, but it hasn't. The whole thing is its own thing. The environment implies what you are, it's reflecting you. And also when people aren't reciprocating something intrinsic in you, which is the state of love, and they're not showing you that is something to teach you also, like it induces a question. It induces the question of, right, why is it this way? Why is it this way? And nothing's right or wrong, because that's again thinking in terms of dualism, a dualistic perception, which again is not seeing it as the whole. You should perceive them not giving you the love that you feel that should be amongst us. You should perceive that as something, right, why is it this way, and what can I do to cultivate the way to change that? What can I do? What can I do to transmutate this current state that we're experiencing? What can I do in my power to reflect something in them to kind of mitigate the state they're feeling, instead of sympathizing with the reflection of their turmoil that you can clearly see, which only exacerbates it and augmentates the negative of it. But you've got to find a way to kind of deviate from the habitualized pattern of getting frustrated with that. I was in this position myself. I used to get frustrated with it. But you are the whole universe, uni one, which means one verse. So it doesn't matter what resonance frequency that they may be on or oscillating within. If you recognize that that's not state love, but you know love is in you, then you can just exemplify that godlike state. God, and I don't mean the personification of God. I'm talking in terms of God is in love, all love. So you can be the exemplification of that, and then maybe it'll induce that state in him, or re-invoke a dormant state in them. And if it doesn't, it doesn't matter. That's their day. It doesn't have to be yours. It doesn't have to be yours. It is not your energy. It is not personal. It's just forms of energy. And I know you're not on that tangential kind of resonance that they may be in, but that doesn't matter. It really isn't personal, guys. And recognizing this will attenuate it, which means reduce the state of that, and then you reflect, and then what you do is you recede from that. You recede back in order to retract what you are, the capacity of what you are, and just be in the observational kind of periphery of it all, like, okay, this is how it is, but it's not my energy, and I'm going to be what I'm going to be. So that's the first point, but we're just going to go with the flow here. Okay, what? I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. You got to implement some humour sometimes in life. The facetiousness, because it all is just frivolous, really. It is and it isn't. We all love, we do feel, but again, preserve that state in you, because when you don't and you try to interject with others, you're substituting the preservation of what you know you are in exchange for the energy thereon. So just be careful. Don't dip your toes in, but don't get consumed by it, okay? Anyways, my second point. Yeah, being in society, it lowers your vibrational state because it's not an organic environment. It's very artificialized, an artificial edifice, and again, it's not reflecting our innate state of being from the heart. The central petal fluidity of the heart, which means the magnetism that's interweaving in and of itself, and it's like an infusion of love, because the heart is centered. It's a product and a by-symptom of the mind, and the mind at the moment is in a state of dualism, So it's very, very stagnant, low dense energy in society, especially in the built up areas, because it's become a product of that. So the main key is a reversion back to the heart. And people say, oh, how do you do this? Well, there is many tools, but sometimes you're just getting your own way, because sometimes the tools you're using are derived from the mind that created the problem it's within itself. So you can't again attenuate the problem in which the same paradigm it derived from, which is the mind itself. So sometimes it's just about literally letting go. Meditation can help. That is the main thing. It is to not control the thoughts, but just not let them control you. And that's quite a popular saying. You see, the thoughts aren't you. They are present. They always will be, because we do have a mind, and it is under a continuous bombardment, like subliminally, ionic wavelengths that are very erratic and sharp, and they induce a state in your mind where your mind is not centered, not converged. It completely splits it off into the two hemispheres. So there is no like the mind's not like mutual within itself from left to right hemisphere. They're not working in unison or reciprocating at all. So I mean, our society becomes a reflection of that, a byproduct of that. And it's not what we are, though. We're not that. That is not our origin. It's a derivative, and the D again, which I've said in another clip, the D is a half of the whole. The origin, derivative, the half of the whole. The D, the two hemispheres breaking off from themselves, where the corpus callosum in the center gets burnt out because of this. And that converges it. It's called the bridge. It's like a bridge. I'm sure the shamans call it that, like the bridge gateway. And then once that's centered, the pineal gland activates. It's like a conduit into the transcendental abode and the other realm. It becomes a conduit for that more subtle loving essence, which is what is anima of us. But the brain is under attack at the moment, and it's the brain that's under dominion of the agenda that wants us under its subjugation, which means under its tyranny. But the agenda is not what you are. We've just conformed to that. If you believe it, you will be it. And we've all just collectively believed it, that's what we are. It's a reductive state of being, and it's the capacity of what we are, and the faculty of the mind can operate on. It has been reduced, but it's not what you are. But it's a phase. It was an inevitable phase to recognize what you're not. So how would you know what you are without going into the deep dark chasm of despair and turmoil, anguish, without eliciting something even more within yourself? Because the dark parts of you is where the light is, where the light can be elicited, and it illuminates even more of what you are. So just perceive it like this, guys. Really take in what I'm saying. Connect with the eyes, feel the heart and the soul. This is just a projection. It is yours. It is your projection. It is not theirs. You might feel like it is not yours because of how everything is. But again, it is. You own this. This is what you are. Whatever state of being you're in, that pulsates a frequency. And that the pulsation of that frequency, it ricochets and it emanates out, and then that becomes a mirror. It literally, you mirror what you are within to be without. As above, so below. All these sayings are quite cliched. They're old sayings, but this is what it is. And it is you. The whole thing is you, and it's what you are. So don't let the societal construct and the way it's been manipulated, just don't agree to it. Don't agree to it. It's almost like an etheric chip, like the etheric realms beyond the physical. Basically, it's unfathomable to the mind and sorry, to the sensory organs, to the sensory perceivers, because they're on a small bandwidth and it's very limited. So it's not conceivable. It's inconceivable to the degree of what the mind operates on. But there's an etheric plane. What do you think is animate of you? What animates you? It's something more subtle, and it's the intrinsic. And that should dictate how the mind operates, to have discernment and decipher what actually is to what shouldn't be. And this is the phase that we're currently going through. So yeah, that's my second point. Third point. Yeah, basically everything it is in society, things are commodified heavily. Even sex is commodified. It's become a commodity. So what happens is, when you're in town, in your local town, it's the artificiality of the system's built upon consumerist kind of enticements. So you're tantalized into the low erratic stimulus wavelengths that knock you off your calibration, your higher subtle calibration, and they get you in a state of insatiable appetite for transient waves of stimulus that just distract you. You have no traction anymore. So this is what they do, and they do this by commodifying everything: food, sex, everything that they can do. It can become a commodity. They sell it to you, and you buy it. You go out buying it. This is the thing. This is one of the things. This is the biggest tool in their arsenal, the biggest one, and it's just neural subliminal bombardment that really does deeply ingrain itself in your whole being. As soon as it's in the mind, it becomes the nervous system, and it becomes a reflex response reaction, like a trigger response that's very animalistic and primal. And it's about like really amplifying that, so that you always are on this wheel. You're on this this continuous wheel, and it's perpetual. It's perpetual and stagnant. And when we start to feel low and depressed, which they've induced as well, so a derivative from the same thing, the same agenda. And by the way, agenda means, like, asexual is without. It means to be without. So they feel like they're in a state of lack and deprivation, so they need to use us to their advantage as a form of sustenance for them. And one of the big things as well is currency. It has its own current. It has its own magnetic current, which is contrived like the system itself. And when they commodify things, they give you the money from the banks. They generate it to give to you, to keep you in the trap in which the things they commodify and sell, which keeps you in that trap, constantly enticed by things that are not sustenance for your soul but your ego, to enhance the ego. And again, the artificial ego, the one that craves opulence, to give it a false sense of credibility. That is the thing that you are feeding, and simultaneous to that, while they're feeding off you. It's a very parasitic system, but it's going to break down soon. And I will do a video on this and interdimensional beings that I have contact with, and it sounds absolutely insane. Is it insane? Yes, it is. Okay, I'm on the right track then, because insanity in society is the thing that's closest to being sane, actually sane. Operating through divination through the transcendental realms as being ostracized and condemned as being, because it's insane, it's being perceived as insane. So it's been completely pushed out, and then it becomes a collective consensus reality for everybody that to speak in these terms is insane. It's far from it. It's far from it. It's the truth, and the truth is the unknown. The unknown people fear, so they will repel, and they'll never be able to have access to it because they're in that constricted state of fear. Our whole system's built on this, guys, but it's not who you are. And I will do a video about interdimensional beings that I have like basically transmissions from the higher domains and lighter density realities, because it is interesting stuff and it is happening. And the moment you let go of it is when you try to rationalize it too much through a rational filter, because you're trying to figure it out, and figures are numbers are singular, and them singular digits never end. Again, that's perpetual too, and that's a part of the thinking. Thinking is a thing, seeing things as distinctions, not as constituent. Anyways, that's my third point. What is the next point? Do you guys want to hear it? You do? Okay. So number 4. Yeah, there's a social consensus standard amongst us that's concocted from the split of the hemispheres, and I'll do a more in-depth video about the hemispheres, the masculine and the feminine hemisphere. The feminine basically conceives, synthesizes to develop and grow, and the masculine hemisphere is masculine. Ma equates to flesh, the word ma, mathematic, mere, ma, flesh, creating fleshly beings. Mathematical side of the brain is not being nourished by the left hemisphere, so it's completely off balance. Anyways, not the point right now, but yeah, the concoctions of the standards that have become a consensus in reality are symptoms of the ego, and then there's no tangibility to them. They're not palpable. You can't touch these standards. You can't touch them. They are not there. You are born with perfection, and what's perceived as the imperfections are your most highest perfections, because they're natural and organically developed. Not like this standard that's become amongst us, and that creates of uncomfortability in us, because this sometimes standard is not attainable, and it's a complete falsity. So we're all trying to collectively modify the way we look and the way we appear to others. Why? Why are you guys doing this? Really? I mean, your natural state is more attractive. Well, to me it is, because I'm not on that lower density resonance where I'm not perceiving it in that way anymore. I've broken out of that paradigmatic rigidity. I've pierced through the paradigm of perceiving things like that. But yeah, there's this standard that seems to be, and if you don't attain it, you're not worthy. You base the worth and attribute the worth on something physical, and it's hard, guys. It's becoming really harsh, and things have to get worse before they become better, because chaos elicits its best version of itself, and the turmoil and the turbulence occurs before the smooth ride. So it will get there eventually, but hold on, guys, because things will change, and it all starts within you to be without first. Anyways, guys, that was the video on why we can feel out of place in society. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, keep cultivating the message, guys. It is all about love. and that's it. Revert back to love. It's a childlike state of non-judgment, and I'm not talking judgment. I'm talking judgment in the form of judging on the basis of physical attributes, not judging to realign yourself on the tangent of something greater, because it's justifiable on the basis of if it's a derivative, if it's from the origin of God. If somebody's acting out, so let's say for example, if someone's acting out of the original character of their inner being, the innate being, and they are craving sympathy, right, which is a form of sustenance for the ego, if you sympathize with that, then you're just again amplifying that state, and it'll be invariant, they will never change, and they'll never be able to transmutate that to help the collective also, because we are integral. So I'm speaking you can judge in terms of that, it's justifiable, but you know what I mean, guys, you know what I mean. Anyways guys, thank you very much. This has been Capricorn King coming to you with the knowledge, and there will be more videos. Peace out guys.